When motivation disappears, you won't always feel motivated. And that's okay. There will be mornings when your alarm rings and your body feels heavier than usual. Days when your mind drifts back to the spark that once pushed you forward and wonders where it went. You'll scroll through your goals, your plans, your dreams, and feel nothing. And in that stillness, a whisper creeps in, maybe I've lost it. But here's the truth most people never tell you: you didn't lose your purpose. You just lost your feeling. And feelings were never meant to be your compass. Motivation is a guest. It visits when it pleases. It brings excitement, momentum, energy, and then quietly leaves when life gets heavy. But consistency is the friend that stays when everyone else walks out. You don't build a powerful life by waiting for the right emotion. You build it by showing up regardless of emotion. Because anyone can act when it's easy. But it's what you do when it's hard that decides who you become. Here's the uncomfortable truth: motivation is temporary. It's a wave. And if you try to ride it forever, you'll drown in disappointment. Consistency, though, that's your boat. It keeps you afloat even when the waves are crashing. Stop chasing motivation. Start building momentum. Motivation lights the match. Momentum keeps the fire alive. Once momentum starts burning, you won't have to relight it every morning, it will light you. The hardest part isn't staying consistent. It's restarting every time you stop. So stop waiting for the perfect feeling. Build the perfect habit. Think of motivation as the wind. You can't control it. But you can row. You can move forward, inch by inch, even when the breeze is gone. And in time, you'll discover it was never the wind that moved you. It was your will. The world doesn't reward those who feel like it. It rewards those who act despite it. And that begins with one simple rule: show up. When you show up without emotion, something powerful happens: you start to build identity. Identity lasts longer than inspiration ever could. You stop saying, "I want to work out." You start saying, "I'm someone who trains." You stop saying, "I should create." You start saying, "I'm a creator." And when you see yourself as the person who shows up, you'll never again rely on motivation, because consistency has become who you are. Turning discipline into identity. Consistency isn't born out of passion. It's built out of pattern. The people you admire, the ones who seem unstoppable, who move forward no matter what, they're not always motivated. They're just structured. They've learned the truth that most people avoid: motivation starts the journey. But systems keep it alive. They don't rely on the spark of emotion to push them. They rely on structure, on repetition, on habit. They've built a rhythm that plays even when they're tired, even when life gets messy, even when nobody's watching. Because consistency isn't about how you feel. It's about what you repeat. The problem isn't that you're lazy. It's that you've been asking motivation to do a job that only discipline was built for. Motivation starts the engine. Discipline keeps it running. Structure keeps it on course. Without structure, your feelings will always drive your future. And feelings, they lie. They'll tell you, you're too tired. They won't notice if you skip today. You deserve a break. And every time you listen, you train your brain to believe that comfort is more important than commitment. But consistency, true consistency, is built on the opposite belief. It's built on the idea that showing up matters more than how you feel while doing it. It's not about doing big things occasionally. It's about doing small things daily. Write 1 paragraph. Do 5 push-ups. Read 2 pages. Show up for 10 minutes. Don't chase intensity, chase frequency. Because frequency creates momentum. And momentum creates change. You don't need to win every day. You just need to refuse to lose 2 days in a row. That's how you build trust with yourself. That's how you prove, not to the world, but to your own reflection, that you can keep going. Every time you show up when it's hard, you're not just completing a task. You're reinforcing identity. Every time you push through resistance, you're sending yourself evidence: I'm the kind of person who follows through. And over time, that evidence becomes confidence. Quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need to brag. Because it knows. You stop saying, I hope I can do this. You start saying, I've done this before. That's the transformation, when action builds belief. And that belief builds power. You no longer need motivation to begin. You have proof that you'll finish. And here's the real secret: consistency isn't just about performance. It's about self-respect. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you strengthen your self-image. You start seeing yourself differently, not as someone who tries, but as someone who does. And that's when everything changes. You stop negotiating with effort. You stop overthinking the how. You just show up. Because that's who you are now. When you build discipline, you stop being a prisoner of your feelings. And when you build identity, you stop needing motivation altogether. That's when consistency stops being something you struggle for and starts being something you live as. The rhythm of consistency isn't built in bursts. It's built in rhythm. Anyone can push hard for a week. But the ones who last, the ones who quietly, steadily rise while everyone else burns out, they understand something deeper. It's not about speed. It's about sustainability. Motivation makes you sprint. Rhythm makes you endure. You don't need to work harder. You need to work smarter with yourself. Because consistency isn't a war against exhaustion, it's a dance with balance. Here's the truth: intensity burns fast. Rhythm lasts forever. The people who build extraordinary lives aren't running full speed all the time. They've learned when to push and when to pause. When to give effort and when to give rest. Because rest is not weakness. Rest is part of the system. It's the inhale before the next exhale. Burnout has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. It's the silent thief that convinces you to quit something you once loved, not because you couldn't do it, but because you never allowed yourself to breathe while doing it. Consistency isn't about doing everything, every day. It's about doing the right things repeatedly. And letting recovery refill your strength between them. You are not a machine. You're a rhythm, a cycle of effort, energy, and renewal. And if you can master that rhythm, you'll outlast anyone who only knows intensity. But rhythm alone isn't enough. To stay consistent, you must reconnect with your why. Ask yourself, why did I start? What part of me wanted this so badly that I took that first uncomfortable step? What fire was burning inside me before the noise, the stress, the fatigue covered it? When motivation fades, as it always does, your why becomes your anchor. It reminds you that discipline isn't punishment. It's devotion. Every rep, every habit, every quiet act of effort is a small act of loyalty to your purpose. You won't always love the process, but you'll always love what it builds in you. Every push-up, every page, every repetition is a vote for your future, for your identity, for the person you're becoming. The results may come slowly, but they will come. Because effort compounds. It stacks quietly, invisibly. Until one day you wake up and realize you've become the person you used to look up to. And that's when you understand, consistency isn't about what you do today. It's about what you do after today. That's the difference between the inspired and the unstoppable. Inspiration moves you once. Commitment moves you always. When motivation disappears, don't chase it, replace it. Replace it with systems. Replace it with habits. Replace it with purpose. Because you will not always feel ready. But you can always act ready. And when you do that, when you learn to move even without the feeling, you'll realize that motivation was never the source of progress. You were. And that's the ultimate truth. You don't need to feel motivated to stay consistent. You just need to remember who you are when you do. Becoming the person who never quits. There comes a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when consistency stops being effort and starts being identity. You no longer have to convince yourself to act. You just act. Because it's who you are now. That's the true transformation. Not the trophies, not the results, not the applause. The real victory is when you look in the mirror and recognize discipline staring back at you. Most people think success is built in moments of motivation. But success is built in the shadows of repetition, in the early mornings when no one's watching, in the nights when nobody claps, in the middle of the grind when your mind whispers, "Why am I doing this?" and your heart answers, "Because I said I would." Consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to become. And every day you cross that bridge, you're building it stronger. You see, the reward of discipline isn't just progress, it's peace. The peace of knowing that you keep your word. The peace of realizing that you are dependable, even when life isn't. The peace of becoming someone your past self can finally trust. When you stop waiting for motivation and start trusting your routine, something magical happens. You build momentum. And momentum doesn't need emotion. It feeds on motion. The more you move, the stronger it grows. And one day you'll realize that the fire you thought you lost has been burning inside you all along, hidden under layers of resistance, waiting for action to uncover it. Here's the secret nobody tells you: you don't need to feel inspired to change your life. You need to be consistent enough to outlast the days when you're not. When others quit because the feeling fades, you'll still be moving quietly, steadily, unshaken. Because you'll have something better than motivation. You'll have momentum, mastery, and meaning. And meaning, once found, never leaves you empty again. The truth is, life isn't about massive leaps. It's about small, deliberate steps in the same direction. Each step is a declaration: I'm still here. I'm still trying. I'm still becoming. And those steps? They matter more than you think. Because consistency, when practiced long enough, turns ordinary people into extraordinary ones. Not because they were born gifted. Not because they were always confident. But because they refused to stop showing up. That's how confidence is born, not from success, but from endurance. From knowing you faced every excuse, every obstacle, every moment of doubt, and you did it anyway. So, if today you feel tired, uninspired, if disconnected, remember this: you're not failing. You're forging. You're building the strength that only repetition can teach. Keep going, not because you feel like it, but because your future self is waiting for you to. Motivation may start your journey. But consistency? Consistency will finish it. And when it does, you'll realize you never needed the spark, you were the fire all along.